never this silent.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of the She Works podcast with LaShonda Scales. I got a wonderful program tonight, so you got to go ahead, like, click, and share. You will find this podcast to be so amazing and yet more informative than you could ever imagine. So you got to go ahead and like, click, and share right now. I have several guests who are with me. You've been hearing a lot lately. I've been doing these ride-alongs, and you all have been tuning in and making your comments. I'm going to be reading your comments even tonight, okay? And what we're here to do is to educate you. Now listen, we're 3 weeks before Election Day. As of yesterday, we were right at 3 weeks before August 24th. What you don't like in your community, you have the opportunity to vote it out. If you are registered to vote, you can also in-person absentee vote right now through August 19th. And here's some of the requirements. If you are a college student, you live in the city of Birmingham, registered to vote in the city of Birmingham, but you will not be in Birmingham on Election Day. You can go ahead and in-person absentee vote at Birmingham City Hall, 3rd floor, or active member of the community, meaning active member of the military. You can also in-person absentee vote if you will not be in Birmingham on Election Day. You are a caregiver and you will be working on Election Day. Here's your opportunity. You can do it right now, meaning that you can go and vote from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Birmingham City Hall. Folks, it's a lot on the ballot. The main thing is our quality of life. We've heard the blight. We've heard about all of the photo ops. $0 last year into our Birmingham City School budget from the city. Zero. You heard me right on last week, zero. This particular budget, what was passed was $1 million for mental health for the Ed Foundation. No books, no instructional, no teacher support, none of that. So all of these high fives, fist bumps at these schools are nothing more than photo ops. I want you to know that our children and their education is what's on the ballot for Tuesday, August 24th. If you don't like the crime in terms of homicides that have been happening in our city, that's what's on the ballot. Someone was just killed today on Warrior Road, my understanding. We can't keep at this pace. We've got to do better. So now listen, I'm looking at your comments. I see some of you are already with us. And it's important to me that as we move forward, this is the seat at the table with LaShonda Scales that we have been talking to you about. And as mayor, that's exactly what you're going to have. I'm not interested in being a dictator that wants to build the city of Birmingham around a person. You're building it around the people, okay? Remember, in City Hall, there is a creed. The people are the city, okay? The people, not individuals, the people. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you some of my guests here tonight. You're going to be hearing information firsthand, not secondhand, firsthand. That's why you got to go ahead, like, click, and share. Information is powerful. But if you don't utilize the information that you're receiving, you're going to be one of those folk that say, hey, my vote doesn't count, it really doesn't matter, and you're going to see nothing good is going to come out of your neighborhood. Now, let me just say this before we get started. We have had a previous mayor that served 2 terms. Larry Langford, unexpired term, so really you're talking about 10 years because William Bell served for 2 terms and a half. So Larry Langford came in 2007, went away at 2009, and then you had William Bell who came in 2010, and then we had an election That was 2017. And so therefore you have 2 terms, right? Okay. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. 2010, William Bell gets elected. William Bell is then voted out in 2017. This mayor comes in, you got another 3.5 years, basically in our 4th year, 12 years of nothing but blight, communities in bad shape, certain people that look like black and brown folk, no seat at the table, and we're tired. I know you are too. So let's get started tonight. Like, click, and share right now so that we can get started. First of all, to my right, which would be to your left, is Representative John Rogers, who also supported, you need to know, he and I both supported this mayor, thinking that 99 neighborhoods, 23 communities would be represented. That's real important. Now, to my left, which would be to your right, we're going to refer to her as Miss Marlene, okay? So she is a retiree of the city of Birmingham, and she is also a former public works employee. So all of this stuff about communities not getting clean and, hey, we've had COVID due to I don't know, inclement weather. I'm hearing so much stuff, right? She's going to tell you exactly what is taking place or what has taken place in that department because she just recently retired just a few months ago. Also, you have former president of the FOP Lodge number 1, who most recently took a vote of no confidence in this Birmingham police chief, Patrick Smith. And he's going to tell you exactly what is happening with our Birmingham Police Department. Now, you need to know this. When we start talking about the World Games, ask yourself the question, if we are not meeting the needs of just everyday citizens, how are we going to be ready for an international stage that's going to make Birmingham a spotlight? The fist bumps, the Air Force Ones, and all the games that's being played right now, that's not going to work when you start putting the spotlight on our city. Because then the world will see what Birmingham doesn't have, okay? So I'm going to first of all start with over here to my left, and my furthest left, I'm going to start with Dexter Cunningham. And so Dexter came with us, I want to say about maybe 6-7 weeks ago, talking about the state of the Birmingham Police Department. If you don't mind, briefly help the audience to understand, why did you all take a vote of no confidence in this Birmingham police chief?
So the executive board of Birmingham Lodge 1 took a vote of no confidence in this police chief because of the pettiness with disparaging treatment. Officers are being punished for routine things, for attempting to do their job. And it's been very unfair to the rank and file. It's been unfairness in the way in which promotions are doled out. I recently talked to some of my former colleagues, and they told me that a person who had ranked number 13 on the promotional list, all of a sudden they got promoted to the rank of lieutenant.
Wow.
And it could be because they may have a spouse that works there and they're connected with the powers that be. Now, when I served in the department, it was customary that you got promoted based on your ability to do the job.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair, regardless of race, regardless of religion. If you have the ability to do the job, then you should be getting promoted, not because of nepotism or a buddy-buddy system. That's not fair. That's not right. Right now, and this is a conservative estimate, Birmingham Police Department is about 200 police officers short of what they should be. 200.
Yeah. Look over there and let them hear that.
200 people short.
So what does that mean for the citizens?
So now if there are 200 less officers on the police department, that's 200 less bodies protecting the citizens and the businesses of Birmingham. Those are real numbers. Now I heard Mr. Smith make mention that during his
And who is Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith, the chief of police of the city of Birmingham. I heard Mr. Smith say that during his tenure, during his time in office, he's hired 300 police officers. And I just wonder They do have a program where retirees can retire, stay retired for 45 days and be rehired. I'm wondering if he's counting the same numbers that retire and come back as the new numbers. I would wager to say there have not been, during his tenure, 300 brand new off the street police officers hired for the city of Birmingham.
Wow.
So I don't know what type of fuzzy arithmetic that is, but you can't count a body twice. That's one body. Have there been 300 new bodies that have never been employed by the city of Birmingham hired? Absolutely not.
Wow.
Absolutely not.
Wow.
Absolutely not. But you throw numbers out there to confuse people. That's not fair to the citizens who pay their taxes. I'm a resident of Birmingham. Been living and voting in Birmingham for decades now. I'm a retiree of the city of Birmingham. I live in Birmingham by choice because that's where I want to live. Because I love the city that has provided a means for me to take care of my family, and I've been able to do a little piece of good along the way during my service. I'm still of service to my citizens because I'm a citizen, and I have to speak out when something is wrong, when people aren't telling the truth. People need to know the truth and not these placated numbers. This present administration had an awful bill passed that's going to directly affect citizens by virtue of them not being able to recruit talented police officers or even public works officials. It is unfair for an employee to come and work 30 years for the city of Birmingham, and the best compensation they can come up with is 52% of their salary, whereas before this administration, after 30 years of service, an employee was entitled to 75%. So you ask yourself, well, why did their compensation get reduced? Their compensation got reduced so the city can improve their credit scores, so this administration can go out and borrow money. Well, if you hadn't been a good manager of the money and the monies that you've had, why should the citizens of Birmingham trust this person again to do what, the wrong thing? To further possibly privatize some entities within city government and put citizens of Birmingham out of work? That's not right. That's
Wow.
not fair.
So y'all can tell now, you got to like, click, and share. Tag some folks, because I got some folks I got to tag too. And wow, that's some informative stuff. So 300 officers that could potentially have worked for the city, that doesn't exist. More than 200 officers short, and you're not hearing from someone that is, first of all, he's a Birmingham resident. You're going to find all of our guests here tonight are residents of Birmingham. That's why we're coming together collectively, because we recognize that we have a vested interest here too, just like you do. So I'm going to now, Miss Marlene, she said we can go ahead and put up her whole name. She's a beautiful woman, worked in public works, and you've been hearing some of the talk that has been out there, basically in short saying that some of our folks have come down with the Delta version of COVID. Also, I've been hearing all of these different things, the reason why we have dilapidated housing, but yet we've had all of these houses torn down in the city of Birmingham. And as I've been doing these road tours, that hasn't been the case, because I've looked north, west, and east, and those homes are still there for the most part. So what do you have to say about the Public Works Department? And make sure that you all go ahead and like, click, and share. Many of the mayor's staff, they always tuning in, and I know. But listen, we're not coming on to argue the fact. We're coming to present facts. So you want to share with everybody about the state of the Public Works Department in the city of Birmingham.
Well, first of all, when I was in, right before I retired, we wasn't doing any demolition. I worked in demolition. And no houses was being torn down in over a year.
So let me make sure I heard you right. You're saying that city of Birmingham, and if you all see me looking around with my phone, I'm trying to make sure that I get all of you all in here so we can answer your questions. You're saying the city of Birmingham, how long ago has it been, first of all, that you retired? January
of this year.
Of this year.
Yes.
So let's get that fact straight, right? How long were you with the city?
Since 2013.
Since 2013, and she just recently retired in 2021. So my point for saying that is this. So many homes reportedly have been torn down, and your response to that is?
If they being demolished, the city of Birmingham is not doing it. So it's got to be a contractor that's doing it, because demolition, the Public Works Department was not tearing them down.
Wow.
So-
Okay, folks, so you heard that for yourself. We know that a lot of Public Works employees have become really disillusioned with the city of Birmingham. Can you help all of us to understand why that is so? I know what I have been told, but you've been a Public Works employee, and you know how the people are thinking. So share with everyone, what is the morale level with the city, and how much do the average Public Works employee gets paid?
Well, I don't know about, I was a truck driver, so I topped out at $18.
Okay.
So that's how you can go. And for us to be the biggest municipality, that's kind of low.
So what is the least paid worker, what do they make? If you
I'm gonna
topped
say
out at
11.
$18, what do they make?
Got to be $11 or $12.
$11 or $12 an hour. Wow.
Yeah.
And so what is the morale in Public Works right now?
First, I know it's kind of low. It's kind of low because, you know, you don't have anything to look forward to. You know, you lost all your holidays, your longevity, you know, and you know, we haven't had a raise in 4 years.
Wow.
The same stuff that he's campaigning, Randall Wolfen is campaigning on now, that's what he campaigned on 4 years ago. He asked us about what does it take to get the morale built up? You know
Right.
what everybody said? Money.
Yeah.
So he said, I promise y'all to get y'all a 7% raise, insurance, find y'all better insurance, blah, blah, blah. But that didn't happen.
Wow.
We just got a raise, and that was, what, 1.5%?
Wow.
But that's gonna take, the pension is gonna take that, because you got to put that into the pension. And the insurance, he went up on the insurance twice after he got in there. So, you know, that didn't happen. And the 99 neighborhoods is that they still looking the same. So, you know, and the morale is just low. It's just low because you promised and made all these promises, but you didn't fulfill them. And my thing is, if you take care of your people, your employees will take care of your citizens. We citizens too, first. We employees, and you know, you just take care of us, and then your citizens will be took care of.
Well, that's a mouthful right there. So and it's very eye-opening because a lot of times when I talk to folks and they see people on the back of the city garbage truck, and they really think that people making $20 an hour or maybe sometimes greater. No. I remember from this headquarters, there were two gentlemen that was out there, and they were eating the median, and I asked both of them, I said, let me ask you something, what do you make? And when this gentleman told me $14 an hour, and he said, I've been working for the city for 20 years, I still have not gotten nothing more so than not too far from when I started. And that was hurtful, because how do you recruit and retain employees and they can't even take care of their families with what they're getting paid? Yet they're working harder now, because I am absolutely exposing this mayor than they ever have before. Let me ask you this right quick. I know that as a county official, President Pro Tem of the county, we made sure that our employees were compensated even during COVID, right? So you already mentioned about taking away the holidays. So there were 9 out of 11 unpaid holidays. Then 2 were restored, I guess after I talked about it so much. So then the mayor gave it back to you all. Never before have we had a mayor in all of the years of a black mayor to even take away Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. But let me just tell you something, that speaking of COVID, I want you to tell everyone about the PPE gear that you all, the level of it to operate and function in while you were working. Yeah.
This mask was supposed to be one of our PPE protection. And it's thin as a t-shirt.
Wow.
And we had to sign for this to make sure that we received it. Then we had a bottle of hand sanitizer about the size of this water that they stuck in a box by the time clock. Everybody had to use this hand sanitizer, but I had my own. But use this same sanitizer to wipe your hands, do your hands after you clock in. You had about 100 to 150 employees got to clock in on 3 time clocks by 6 o'clock. And so what you expect, you know people are going to catch the virus.
Exactly.
Because you got everybody jumbling in, trying to get in at the same time to get clocked in on 3 time clocks by 6 o'clock to keep from being late. Then you still got people riding 4 and 5 in a truck.
Wow.
So what do you expect? So people are going to be sick.
I will tell you this, Miss Marlene. I went with my team over to the Crossplex. Behind the Crossplex, folks, is a place where when the city they had a fire at one of the street and sanitation locations over on the west side of Birmingham. So they moved that location specifically over behind the Crossplex, where horticulture, where they seed and they raise flowers, basically, in short.
The greenhouse.
The greenhouse. And we had a group of folk that were out there that told us, women said that they couldn't even go inside of the building. If they needed to go inside, the only time they could go in is when it was time to clock in. Rain, cold, whatever it was, they made it quite clear that, they have to go into their own car, and especially if they have to wait on the city truck, if once they go into the time clock, they have to stay outside. I couldn't believe it. I said, so you mean to tell me if it's raining or if it's cold, you can't go sit in your car? No, ma'am. Not once we clock in. Wow. So my next guest, which is Representative John Rogers, State Representative John Rogers, has been an effective leader in our community for a long time, doing a lot. And I'll be honest with you, John has been probably one of the more vocal state representatives as it relates to the stadium, as it relates to the pension that went up on July 1 for city employees. John helped to join this fight, has always been on the front line of fighting for the people of Birmingham. So I want to thank him for coming out tonight. And
thank you.
John, what you got to say?
But I'm going to say it like this. I supported around that first.
Yeah.
My theory was Bill was a 7-headed dragon. So I'm gonna kill the 7-headed dragon and get the baby dragon. Now the baby dragon worse than the 9-headed dragon.
Wow.
I'll tell you what's happened here. You got a mayor who has no concern for this city. And when you turn, and thank you, when you were Council Scales, it let me speak to this, try to get me to speak to City Council about what happened with UAB.
Yeah.
I would give you 31 years, we had the money to build a stadium. We went to Chelsea to build it. We didn't need $90 million from the city. UAB got enough money to burn 4 or 5 wet elephants. We went, in the city of Birmingham, gave $90 million unconditionally to build a stadium that every high school got. Every high school in Birmingham has an outdoor stadium.
Yeah.
We're going to build another one with that $90 million, and they only use $45 million of it. That the city can't even get back. Not only that, but I showed them the legislation where it says that if they steal a bag of peanuts at that stadium, the city can't get 1 dime from it. All the taxes go to the BJCC. All of them go there. So you're building a city of a tale of two cities. You're building a city, and all down that corridor down there where the Carrier Hospital, that's going to be an amphitheater. They're taking your money there. They've already killed all the houses across the street already. So therefore, I'm telling you, this city is going to the dogs. I'm begging y'all, let's get somebody who's going to turn the city around. You don't own the city anymore. And it's giving away right on your eyes. And then the people staying at home and don't vote. You're going to get mad, but I'm not going to go vote. You got to get this man out of office. He's killing you. And the irony of the whole thing is that I just can't understand how in Sam Hill that everybody else didn't have to give them money irrevocable, but Birmingham had to put up $90 million that they didn't. They only used $45 million.
Yeah.
It took $45 million to put it in the bank to do what they want to do. The Civic Center did. So therefore, what you need $90 million for? Your neighborhoods went lacking. And you know what? The irony of the whole thing is that this man came to my office before he ran, begged for my support, sit on my sofa, looked at me in the eye. I'm gonna be for the black folk. I'm gonna be for y'all. I don't care who white this is. He said I'm for black folk. He has done that for black folk. Came to Montgomery and talked about the sanitation workers, and telling them that they gonna take away all the holidays. He did tell them that, but he took away all the holidays. About 9 things he took away from them, and then I fought the fact that you don't raise the balance of budget on the back of your employees nowhere.
Yeah.
And nobody ever brought their bill in Montgomery. All the cities around here, Homewood, Mountain Brook, Bed-Stuy, nobody ever came to Montgomery and brought their bill to Montgomery, but the mayor did. And then when he brought it, I fought it because it was wrong. And the irony of the whole thing is this: is that when he got ready to get it passed, he called the employees in the office and tell them to call me. And they called me from his office. He was sitting there watching them. Tell me, Mr. Rogers, please put out the vote. Mayor gonna be good to us, like little bitty slaves running in there with the tip-tapping. Mr. Rogers, please, don't do it, don't hurt us. Time they left the office, they called me, Mr. Rogers, please, hang on, don't let him vote on that. They were scared to say it in front of him. Wow. The time they leave off, they would call me back and say something different. But he pushed it through. Because after I held him up for about a month and a half, where he couldn't pass it, he got desperate.
Yeah.
I don't know who was pulling his coattail, but then there's something else I got to tell you that really made me mad. And nobody knows about this, but I took him an idea about parking meters. How much money the city can make on parking meters by using credit card like you do in progressive cities. You know what he did? And before I left out of the office, he called a white man and gave the white man an idea, and the white man doing the project right now. Called a white employee from Alabama Power in to do the project about the parking meter. I left out of there and threw my head on the floor and walked out on him then. I said, this man got to go. This is a city that could be just like Atlanta. And I'm counting on mayor scale to make us just like Atlanta.
Or better.
Better. But
yeah.
Hey, I worked on Mayor Jackson campaign. And I see Mayor Jackson and her. We could be better than Atlanta. We got all the makings. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to be in Atlanta. But at the time we had a stupid governor who said segregation now and forever. That was George Wallace. Now we got a black man doing the same thing the white man did to us. It's time for the city to wake up. If we don't, we're gone. You got Taylor 2 cities going on right now. All the development going down to Caraway, all to North Birmingham. Yeah. And then you got the poor part, which is West End, North Birmingham, places like that. And then not only that, if you grew some carrots or some potatoes in North Birmingham and you feed your children, you're killing them.
Yeah.
The poison is still there.
Yeah.
He had not fought to change that in North Birmingham.
No.
Those kids are being born with blind, with irregularities, and nobody says anything. And that's what William Bell did.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I'm gonna tell you what I heard, Mr. Gale, that you got two folks in this campaign running together as a team. And they're both snakes. You got a baby snake, learn from the big snake. The big snake is controlling everything, and they tend to try to team up on you. And I hope this city can realize that we got to fight for everything we got to have now. We got to fight for every dime. If you can give $90 million away in a Hamburg and then turn around and give Homewood $70 million or something, $1 million, because they had a stitch over there. They had a sticky smell over there in Homewood.
Yeah, the sewer.
And I don't know all about it. I know he gave him the money to get rid of it. I think he even knew that. That money was doing so quietly with the mayor and through Alabama Power, who is supporting him 100% to do this kind of thing to us, giving our money away to people who don't need it. You don't even look like us. Now, Birmingham is a black city. I don't care how you point it. Okay, if you look the other way, call it anything you want. We are BLACK black. You got to take your city back. You don't take it back now, you'll never have another chance. I guarantee you this will be your last chance to save this city. You're going to have the tale of two cities. We have the big fire development from the BJC down there where they had Top Golf and all that kind of stuff, all the development down there, going down North Birmingham where they've already eminent domain, all the houses across the street. And they're going to make a amphitheater out of the Caribbean Hospital.
That's right.
Out of our money. And you can't get it one dime of tax back to pay for it. And the mayor sitting on the board with not enough votes to even make a difference. He's one of 7 votes. He might have 2 votes he can count on. Anything they want to do, they do it and run over him. He sits there like a little bitty pumpernickel, sitting on the board. And we need to make a change to have somebody going to stand up for us. And I support the man. I pray to God every day, forgive me, Lord, for what I did. I made a mistake. Please forgive me. I pray every night that somebody can realize what we've done. If you do it back over again, God help you. God help us. So I'm begging y'all, go to the polls, please. I'm imploring everybody I can, please. And please vote for Ms. Scales. Please go to vote for her. We need her. And for all you men that I know castigating her because she's a woman, shame on you. Shame on you. God gonna put scout on your heart for saying that you said. Why do black men let somebody scare our women? It's a time for her. We need somebody who's thinking about us. So I'm begging you, please go to the poll, and I'm gonna be right there working hard as I can to get it off. We need a change, real bad. We need to win on the first run. Don't talk about no runoff. We need to win this race up front on the first run, because then they're gonna try to team up on her. They already planning. They're not running seriously. They got one candidate. You got folks in the race showboating, acting like they who they are, but they're really trying to beat one person.
Yeah.
They're trying to beat my mayor, Ms. Scales. That's who they're trying to beat. It's the only one they're running against. All of them. Every man that race is running against her. And that's wrong. I can't understand how black men can sit back and beat up on a black woman and then get mad when somebody wants to defend her. Please go to the poll to vote this August. Please. I'm begging you. I'm begging from the bottom of my heart. We got one shot. It's our last shot. If you miss this shot, just go ahead and leave Birmingham. Just go ahead and go anywhere and live. Because you're going to want to leave.
Well, folks, that means we got to like, click, and share. I told you tonight you're going to find that this particular episode is real informative. It's going to be educational and enlightening, because a lot of what I talk about is one thing for you to hear from me, but you're hearing directly from a representative of the police department, a retiree of the public works department. You're listening to a state lawmaker. I keep talking about the state law. You've been looking at, I'm looking at some of the folk who are on here now, and we keep talking about the state law. And you remember, John, when this mayor said that he was going to work to change the Mayor Council Act. And I can recall, just to show you how this mayor, I'm a liaison from the county to the city of Birmingham, and I can recall within my first 90 days of being in office, we took office in November of 2018, which was actually November 14, 2018. And I'll never forget that this mayor, John asked me, would I come over to a meeting that the state legislature, meaning that the Jefferson County delegation,
Right.
was having with the mayor.
Right.
And what did the mayor ask me to do?
He pushed you out the meeting. Would you please leave? I was shocked.
Well, he didn't even say please.
He said, would you leave, please?
Yeah.
No, he said, would you leave the meeting?
Yeah,
I couldn't believe you guys.
As a matter of fact, he said he needed to talk to his legislature.
You guys a sitting councilman to lead the meeting. I couldn't believe it. I should leave.
He asked me to. I never forget. It was at the Tutwiler.
Sure was.
And at that point, I had become a county commissioner, and so being that John had invited me to come, I thought we all could come together, especially John and I had helped him to get elected.
Right.
And here we are within my first 3 months of being a county commissioner, a liaison from the county to the city of Birmingham. And when I sat in the room, he asked me to leave.
Sure did.
Yeah, asked me to leave. In fact, some of your colleagues were shocked he asked me to leave.
Very vehemently, he actually nice. He said, "Will you please leave?" He
Yeah.
said it very naturally.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
forget it.
Yeah.
That's how nasty this little bitty man is. He's a little bitty man. A little bitty man.
So let's talk about this Mayor Council Act. The mayor campaigned on the fact that he was going to change the Mayor Council Act because it was an overbalance of power between the mayor and the city council, which is why I was sitting in on that meeting, because instead of the mayor talking about changing or amending the Mayor Council Act, what was his conversation with you all that night?
His conversation was about trying to get us back off that stadium, fighting against that stadium, and also to try to get them not to vote to change that.
Yeah.
But he agreed. The reason I support him, that he will fight to change the Mayor Council Act, where it takes all the power from the city council, puts
Yeah.
more of it on the mayor, and he agreed he was going to change that. Then he had a about face, I guess power corrupts.
Absolutely.
And he changed his mind completely. All of a sudden, I said, Mr. Mayor, I thought you were on side. You told me you were going to fight to change that because I was against that, and so was County Commissioner Scales, and you going to put her out the meeting. He said, well, she don't need to be in here. Well, I said, why not? And you gone in.
Yeah.
I said, why not? She's an elected official. She should be in here. She has a concerned interest,
Yeah.
and she know what you said. And then he and I had a argument back and forth, and he said, well, I looked at it again. I changed my mind. You got a man don't know what he was doing, don't know what he want to do, and he's a little bitty man who doesn't need to be there. I'm begging y'all got to get rid of this tyrant. He's a tyrant. He's a tyrant. I'm telling you.
Let me ask you this, John. Talking about the stadium, we know that the stadium is $90 million over a period of 30 years. And what you all need to know is I'm at the county for right now, right? And with your blessing, I will be the next mayor. So here's what I want you to understand when this comes up. When I didn't vote in favor of this stadium, it's because the city of Birmingham owns Legion Field,
Right.
manages Legion Field, takes in every single dollar except for concession at Legion Field. And even then, there's a contractual agreement between a company and the Birmingham Park and Recreation Board on behalf of the city. So the city receives money off of food and drinks, right? So when this mayor could have taken $90 million over 30 years, right? We, as a city, could have floated a bond,
Right.
which would have taken care of the renovation of Legion Field, brought it back to its natural state like Bryant-Denny Stadium. You Alabama fans, right? Auburn did the same thing. They didn't get a new stadium. They went and renovated the stadium they already have, right? And now, here we are, we're talking about the community. The community around Legion Field, there was a
Right.
study that was done, $30 million would have brought Legion Field back to its natural or better state, right? Would have made it more upgrades and all that kind of thing. $60 million would have gone into the community that surrounds Legion Field. That's what this mayor doesn't want you to know. He was more willing to put $90 million into a stadium, brick and mortar, rather than finding a way to invest in the community where people live. And so remember, John, we were talking about before it was passed, because again, this mayor didn't make you and I to believe he was talking about a stadium. In fact, he spoke against the stadium
Sure did.
because at that time, William Bell started this project. So he said that it shouldn't be no more projects done in downtown Birmingham until the 99 neighborhoods were made whole. So we're talking about the Magic City Classic, who cannot be housed presently into this stadium, right? Home of the UAB Blazers. Nothing against UAB, nothing against the football team of UAB, but we're talking about facts and income. The Magic City Classic brings in more than $20 million.
Right.
We build a stadium, and the county, which I helped to oversee, an $800 million budget. But the county only invested $30 million into the same project. City of Birmingham has a budget of more than $400 million and invests 3 times as much as the county did, yet the county has double, just about, the city's budget, which is why it's crazy. What was the conversation, John, that you were told as it relates to the Magic City Classic and what was not going to happen at that particular
Let me tell
stadium?
you what the white legislators said. You know, and I hate to say this, but they said exactly this. If you think y'all gonna go down there and be dropping barbecue sauce all on the street, all down there, we get frying fish down there, y'all crazy. You will be down there frying no barbecue and dropping fish. We gonna cut y'all off. So therefore, that money could have renovated that whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then leave the field. But it's a big joke. I hate to say it. They were teasing us. Man said, y'all got a stupid mayor. That's what they said. This is what the white man, they said, y'all got a stupid mayor. Y'all would not come down here
Wow.
driving barbecues on the street, sauce on the street, all on the street, and driving whiting fish, greasy flying everywhere. Y'all not coming down here doing that. We're gonna make sure y'all, because this is not gonna belong to y'all. Y'all gotta take that Magic City Classic somewhere else. If it's gonna be a Magic City Classic. And that's one of the biggest money makers Birmingham had at the time. I don't know what it makes now.
Yeah.
But
Over $20 million.
they're cutting that off.
Yeah.
You still gonna try to find a way to get to need the field. Some gotta find another place for
Yeah,
the
tailgate.
for the tailgate.
Yeah.
And so why not renovate where your money is?
And it's absolutely not going up underneath the interstate.
They said no way. They said we not let y'all. Hey, hey, y'all better find somewhere else to fry some fish because you find fish up here. Now that's what they said. Now,
Wow.
Now this is a black male playing footsie with some white Republicans to play games against black folks who have a good time, who make money and come for the Magic City Classic tailgate all in the street. You won't do that no more. Now you got to have it one place and game somewhere else.
Well, speaking of that, John, we know that the mayor is a registered Democrat.
For real?
Ran
I
as
don't
a,
believe that.
well, that's what he says.
I don't believe that.
But when it comes to
He's Republican.
but let me just say this: the changing of the mayor council act, we know that occurred with William Bell. But who carried the bill? Was it a Republican or a Democrat that carried the bill as it relates to the changing of the pension in terms of payment by the citizens,
It carried
by the city employees?
Officer Treadway, who has a GED. And then moved up, when he retired, they hired him back as an assistant chief, and changed the law, said that you can get hired now as a assistant chief with a GED. At one time, you couldn't go no higher sergeant.
Wow.
He changed the law so he could move up to assistant police chief. He left, and I can't tell you what he told me because it's kind of X-rated what Treadway told me. He wouldn't do. And I'll tell you after the meeting. But he left. Treadway had a GED, became assistant chief. And they had to change the law in Birmingham for him to do it. But they didn't bring that to Montgomery. They did it quietly in Birmingham. So he could be assistant police chief.
So is Treadway Republican or a Democrat?
Republican. Now he carried
So it was a Republican that carried the bill. Now, of course, y'all know I know this, right? But I want you to say it.
He also passed the bill about the riots.
Yeah.
Said
Talk a little bit about that, too.
Said that Treadway said that if you participate in a riot and you peacefully marching down the street, not doing anything, and somebody help them throw a rock and break a window, they arrest almost everybody they can and keep you in jail for at least 48 hours so you can't come back and get back in the protest. So you can't peacefully protest anymore in Birmingham. And that's a Republican bill that's been passed from state to state so he can prevent peaceful protests. So Treadway, the mayor worked with that bill too in Birmingham. And he was so ashamed that when they had to riot, they had to march down there at the park, that they wouldn't let him participate. He got mad like a little bitty boy and ran away. So therefore he got Treadway to carry all these bills.
Wow.
And Treadway, I'll tell y'all after we leave here what Treadway said privately about it.
Wow.
He since resigned from the police department. He should have resigned. And they've been giving him HW2 stick in Montgomery ever since.
Wow.
So therefore, this is who you got to carry the bill.
So let me just say this.
I'm sorry, y'all get excited.
Well, that's all right. That means you're passionate. Because if you're serious about your job, I think once you lose your passion, John, I think you need to leave out of public service in any job if you do not have the interests of the people that you're supposed to be serving. So let's get back to one of the things that you all know that I talk about a lot is blight in the community.
Yeah.
What would you say, Ms. Williams, in terms of what needs to happen as it relates to how do we clean up our city? I have a plan, but you are a retiree of the department. What would you say that is happening now versus what needs to happen moving forward?
First of all, we need the city need to buy some better equipment.
Okay.
The equipment that we have in demolition and some of these trucks, the
Okay.
scales is old as 99.
Wow.
And some of the equipment is stay in the shop more than it stay operate. So
So I thought that the city, according to the photo ops, more trucks were being added to our fleet, and there was an intentional effort to make sure that you all have new equipment. So what is not happening with the equipment? First of all, what is actually being purchased to that department?
I don't know, since I left, I don't know what he's.
What was it when you were there just a few months ago?
We had the same equipment.
Same
Oh.
equipment since when?
Since I've been in that department since 2000, I want to say about 2017, 18, 16. So it's been the same.
Wow.
And let me say this about the stadium. We as citizens and employees put money to that stadium.
Yeah.
And the city employees cannot even work there. You
Wait
have
a
to
minute,
have
say
tickets.
that again.
The only way
You
you're going
saying
to-
that the city of Birmingham, we invested $90 million, yet we as city employees or workers, you cannot work at the new stadium. Why is that? Why is that? Because you can work at Legion Field. Why is it that you can't work at this stadium?
I don't know why we can't work, but we was told we couldn't work. At
I mean, I kind of figure out why,
And
but,
the only way you go into the new stadium, our city employees, you got to have a ticket to go to the game, but you can't work there like you work at Legion Field. You can't. Do
and
that.
no explanation was given.
No.
It's bad enough you probably can't even afford to buy a ticket there, especially when you're talking about what most public works employees, what they earn, and what you're saying now, except you are purchasing a ticket to go to an event at this same stadium. As a city employee, you cannot work overtime or any time at this new stadium.
That's correct.
Wow.
Can't park cars.
You can't, he said you can't park cars?
Well, we don't park. We weren't parking cars down there anyway. We was doing Legion Field, so I'm not. I
You
don't-
doing Legion Field, but
Yeah.
but you know why? Because it's owned by the BJCC.
CC? Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not owned by the city. That's the bad part about it. We don't own that stadium.
Yeah. So they determine BJCC authority and those who sit, well, actually those who manage, not who sit on the board, but who manages. Wow. So then let me ask you this question. What do you think it will take to rid the city of all of this dilapidation in terms of houses? We're not talking about homes that can be renovated, because a lot of these homes in Birmingham are so far gone, they need to be torn down, and that's what she was talking about demolition. What do you perceive, Marlene, needs to happen for us to adequately tear these homes down and build some other homes in its place? For the city to tear the homes down, what do we need to do?
have the equipment for the employees to use to be able to tear it down, because the city of Birmingham employees is not tearing down these houses.
Okay.
So.
Are we having as many torn down as the mayor's saying
No,
that has been torn
not-
down?
Not from Public Works.
Okay. Are they being torn down by a
City
contractor?
employees, They got to be, because the city of Birmingham employees is not tearing them down.
Do we have the capacity to tear them down?
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Except
like,
for
do we have the employees in
yes,
place
yes.
that could tear it down if they had the right
Absolutely.
equipment?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Wow. So the city, instead of using its own employees to tear down these dilapidated houses, the city would rather contract the work out instead of paying an employee to do the work. That's what you're saying.
And that's what demolition is. That's what we do, tear down the houses. We tear down, we demolish. That's what demolition is.
So before you left the city last year, let's just do 1 year. Last year, before you left this year, but last year, how many homes would you say within that 1 year had just an approximate number torn down?
Maybe 10.
Maybe 10?
Maybe 10.
Now, that's not what the public is hearing. You know that, right?
Maybe 10, if that many.
Wow. Maybe 10 across the city, not just in a specific district.
Across the city.
So let me ask you this. We know that there's some disparities, a lot of disparities in the city. My question would be to you, what has been your experience in terms of what you perceive as a city employee working in public works? What parts of the city that you believe are cleaner than others in terms of what comes from the mayor's office and their direction for the department to clean in various parts of the city? Do you see that there's a difference?
Of course.
Well, explain to us what that difference is and why.
North, south, east, and west, you know, you can tell the difference because if I stay on this, if I'm staying on the north side and you stay on the west side, your area getting clean, but mine's not. You know, but my grass is this high, and so you know it's.
And why do you perceive you're in the department or was in the department? Why do you think that's so?
Well, for that we probably don't have the manpower in horticulture.
So why do you believe we don't have enough manpower? What is that attributed to?
Some come, it's big turnover.
Why is it a big turnover?
The pay.
The pay.
You're not getting paid. You don't get a decent pay.
You don't get a decent pay. I'm trying to get to the core of it. I don't want to put words in her mouth. I want you all to hear what is happening with Public Works. So when you listen to this, these news releases and they say, well, if your garbage is not picked up today, that's due to the fact we have employees with COVID. And I'm telling you, that's not what they're telling me. So you've been a part of that department. Why do you believe, is it related to COVID seriously, or is it just employees have gotten fed up with the treatment of the city and they're quitting?
Absolutely.
Which one is it?
They fed up. They got some. You got some out there that's sick, but a lot of these people, then they overworked. They overworked. You got people, if you go out there and pick up garbage, we had some picking up garbage Saturday because they short staff.
Wow.
In some district, you know, they got to get out there and get it. So you didn't have supervisors. Some supervisors get out there and drive some of these trucks while they don't have the manpower.
But why do you? I want to get back to the core of the problem. We don't have the manpower because of pay. Now, remember, just recently, the mayor took federal dollars, not city dollars. I want to clarify that. Took federal dollars to give bonuses, I'm sure for political reasons, to give bonuses to city employees. Were you able, though you retired from the city,
No.
and you worked through the pandemic,
The
whole pandemic, did you get paid?
No. But you have people that came in and worked 2 or 3 months and received it. And a lot of them gone.
Okay.
But we worked, you got people that worked the whole pandemic, retired this year, the last couple of months, and said they wasn't entitled to it.
Did they tell you why you were not entitled to it?
It says something about a code that once you retire from the city of Birmingham, you're not entitled to any other compensation.
What?
Wow.
You serious?
Wow.
That's not what he told me. he told me that y'all gonna get some retirement and everything. That's what he told us. And all you said, I'm learning something more. I'm learning something. And I can ask you a question. I know it's not. Why is it that on the police department they got where you got to have a college, a high school diploma to move up in the rank? Why did they pass another law to let Treadway become the fire chief with the GED?
He police chief? I mean, assistant police chief.
Simply.
I can't speculate on what this administration or why they would do it. But a reasonable person would believe if I have someone on my payroll who also happens to be a member of the party that has the supermajority in Montgomery,
Okay.
could that possibly save me some money on a lobbying bill? I don't have to pay a lobbyist if I already have someone who's on my payroll
Okay.
and who would happen to increase his retirement by roughly 30 to 40%. I don't know. Maybe a reasonable person could come up with that deduction, but I could be being unreasonable since I'm just a modest retiree. What I can speak to, John, is that this administration had different teams put together, transition teams.
Right.
And he put together some outstanding people on paper that we thought was going to do some work to see what the city would need. I find it interesting that his public safety transition team, they put together some good work. And if you were to check the book, it may still be online, check to see if anything that the transition team suggested to him has been put into play. And no, it hasn't been put into play. If you are 200 police officers short, you have academy class that they'll graduate 18 police officers from the academy class before they get off the, they start the academy class with 18. 14 graduate, 6 of them have quit before they halfway get through the training car, and you'll have 20 police officers retire in 1 month. Does that mean you got a deficit? Absolutely.
Wow.
Do the math, it doesn't change.
Well, you know, and let me just say this, because one of the questions, and Marlene, you can answer this. She said, why has the pay now become an issue? I want you to answer that before right now, because she said, does anyone know starting salary at the base level? Basically, in short, why is now the pay an issue for employees and not before?
I haven't complained about a pay. I'm saying that for the work that the people that garbage men have to do, you know, they have to be out there on the back of those garbage trucks, putting all kind of whatever, you know, and they should be getting paid more than $12, $13.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a decent pay.
Yeah.
You know, even though the minimum wage is $7.25 or whatever.
Right.
But they might think $11 is, you know, good.
Yeah. Well, I think people think $11 is good when it's the way it's being presented to city employees. As a city council member, I always advocated for our employees because I know that, number one, you can go and take a photo and be in the truck and be on the back of the garbage truck and pretend you want to be on a police car and all that. But that's not what you do. That's not what you do all the time. That's what they do. And I'm going to tell you why I perceive it is now an issue, because they have not had a cost of living raise. That's one of the things that you have as a part of your benefit package, is that you may start at a certain amount.
That's right.
But with those raises over a period of time, it allows you to realize the benefit of working for the city government. Okay? And never before has the city laid off, y'all heard me right, furloughed. It's a lot of firsts that have happened under this administration. Never had the city put under this much debt in the first 120 days of office, $90 million. Come back out of that and then say, well, we're going to take care of the neighborhoods, and yet you want to strip the neighborhood associations of only $2,000 per year. It took the city council to put it back. The city of Birmingham has never done $0 to invest in Birmingham City schools. That's what happened last year. Under this administration, never had a mayor with triple-digit homicides for as long as they have been the mayor, with no plan in place. None of that. So when people say he needs more time, I'm saying to do what? Because when John and I supported him, he had all of these magnificent plans, and like you said, Dexter, had a wonderful transition team, people from the power company and people from Block Global, and had all of these different people in place that were smart, you know. And some of them that I've spoken to, even they've had to admit he hasn't done anything that they discussed. So getting back to the police department, we're now talking about public safety. That's a concern for me. I was a part of a meeting last night that I spoke to firefighters. And we know that we're short in terms of the police department. I had no idea we have fire trucks that are not on the road because the city is not providing proper equipment for them to function. So 4 of their fire trucks are down. 4 fire trucks are down. What does that mean for you? If you have a medical emergency, if you have a fire, they are now one of the fire stations. They have it to where if you're over on the east side, I never forget the analogy they use. If you're in Roebuck and the truck that we have that can fight the fire or whatever the case may be is in Ansley, that truck got to come from Ansley. It's not in the local community. So, folks, it's a lot you're going to find out that is unraveling. And, yes, this man doesn't like it. That's why he puts trolls on social media, cutting all of these television ads, because some of these folk, and a lot of these folks, let me just say that is financially giving to this mayor, wants to make sure that this message doesn't get out. That's why you're hearing it firsthand. You're right here. You're able to ask questions. I'm able to ask them for you. That's why I've been riding around in my car. Because the one thing that I know that money cannot do, and that's buy votes in terms of you seeing it with your own eyes. See, it can buy off influencers of your vote, but when you see it with your own eyes, I'm going north of Birmingham, west of Birmingham, east of Birmingham, even Southside had raggedy roads near Ramsey High School that I went over there by Glen Iris Elementary School. I say, here the mayor's over here giving high fives to the kids and talking about the Birmingham Promise. I just had a board member on last week who told you this mayor's not even working with the school board. He was the former president of the school board, and he's not even working with the school board to deliver Birmingham Promise. Because Birmingham Promise is a corporate, y'all hear me right now, corporate photo op, and it keeps the mayor just in that place of saying, we'll take the photo ops with a few children while at the expense of taking the money totally out of Birmingham City school system. Did that on last year. This year, $1 million only for mental health. Shameful. Shameful. How in the world can you look a child in the eye and know that you are taking away their future? Okay? I don't want to get on my soapbox. Let's go back to the police department. We know that the police is short, right? Have you all heard as the FOP any plans to get more officers so that we can have more patrols in our community, more community engagement in our community with these officers? Have you all heard that we're going to have some replacements?
I haven't heard about any replacements. As much as Mr. Smith has been on the news since this vote of no confidence has come out, surely he would have put out a plan for recruitment and retention of quality officers. But what I can tell you is the officers that I speak to, you have officers, Birmingham has always been a training ground for surrounding municipalities.
Yeah.
You have officers now who will have 10 and 15 years in, 5 years away from a pension, and they say they just can't do it anymore. They have got to go. So they're getting out of law enforcement altogether or going to another municipality. When all you got to do is hang on for another 5 years, you can get your pension, and then you can go start working on another one. They said, we are so short, and I am so fearful of this petty chief that I've got to go, and I've got to go now. And then you have an academy class that you graduate 14 people, and half of them quit before they get through the training process. I find it remarkable that Sheriff Petway can graduate 58. But Mr. Smith is claiming because of COVID, we have limited amount of space to have an academy class. That math doesn't add up for me.
I think everything is what I have found with this administration. Everything that doesn't work, they point the finger at the problem and not themselves. I'll give you an example. So if you have a crime-ridden community, it's your fault. It's people who know people and they're killing each other. If your neighborhood is filthy, it's your fault. You know, they can have illegal dumping, but guess what? It's your fault. You need to be doing more to make sure of everything. The garbage not being collected, things not being done. Oh, well, you know, now we have COVID. Now we have weather. Now we have everything but a plan. And that's really the reason why I'm running, because I live in Birmingham. Everyone who is sitting at this table, we are all Birmingham residents coming together to say, listen, folks, this is not about one person. I've got to work with John when I take office. I've got to work with the FOP when I take office. I got to look out for these retirees when I get in office. I've got to make sure that employees have a pathway to advance themselves. So if you do come to Birmingham and you start off at $11, I don't want it to be 10 years later, you still working at $11. And, you know, and so I want to hit home and making sure that everybody know what you don't like. President Obama said it best: don't boo, vote. Don't boo, vote. Don't just talk on social media. We've got to go vote. And we've got to encourage other people to vote, because the money machines, it happens every time, every election. They're going to go with the incumbent. One of the things that this mayor is not doing now, he's pretending to be out here in these communities, but I'm telling you, me and my volunteers, we have been out in these communities since the 1st of January. I mean, when we wore gloves, toboggans, I still have some in my car. I'm telling you, we started back in January, and people's like, wait a minute, hold on, that's early, okay? But the reason why we started early, because you cannot tackle these money machines and think you're going to come in here in the last 30, 60, 90 days, and then, no. Because by then, you got television ads, radio ads, social media. You got all of this talk, and now the people are only hearing one loud voice. And it takes the place of the voices that you hear right now. That's why I keep on about taking this on the road. You hear me? So if you got any questions right quick before we leave tonight, I want you to answer them, because, go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
Tell me, why is he building an amphitheater basically on land controlled by BJCC? Why is he building an amphitheater down there at Caraway on almost that territory? And I know, because I'm on the board that did it.
Yeah.
And I told the board, why is he building that on land that BJCC basically controls? All the money going to go to BJCC and develop another city. You got the tale of two cities, the poor part and the rich part.
Yeah.
And then you got a lot of whites moving back in the North Birmingham on that corner now.
Yeah.
They're moving back in that area because they know it's being developed. Why is he doing that?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, John, what I have learned that when I go to the community, a lot of folks in Norwood, they don't know the complete plan in terms of what's happening. Matter of fact, in Norwood, there is what I call a tussle between the city and the neighborhood, even about Kirby School. There's a school that's right there in the community, and the name of it is Kirby. Kirby was closed by Birmingham City Schools under, as a matter of fact, this mayor. And a lot of the folk in the community, all they know, John, is that their property values have increased. Now, what you're going to be sold on is you should want your property values to increase if you can afford it. So let me give you some math. If you are a homeowner in Norwood and your property at one time was valued at $70,000, homes right now in Norwood are going for more than $200,000, more than $300,000.
Right.
So your tax assessed value will go from 70 or 80,000 to this new number, which is going to be your 200 plus, 300 plus $1,000. And because of that, I want you to hear me clearly, that means the property tax for your property, you're going to have to pay that.
Right.
if you are 64 and under. So for new families that have small children looking for somewhere to live, I'm being honest with you. You go over to Norwood, that's what those homes are now going for. And by the way, I spoke to the neighborhood president. Guess what? All homes in Norwood, they are petitioning to become historical homes. Once they are declared historical homes, you can then receive or be eligible for historical tax credits, which means that they can get funding from the government, state government, federal government to fix up those homes that's been blight. But guess what? It's making its way to Smithfield, where the mayor now lives, which is not too far from the former mayor, who wants to pretend they're enemies. They're not. They're working together, right? Smithfield is on the auction block. Inslee, okay, Ramsey McCormick building. I saw you, Anthony, on here, Anthony Bridgeforth. I want you all to see this and know this. Here we are talking about land takeover. Okay, that's getting ready to happen in Inslee. Just a few months ago, John, North Birmingham School was brought to my attention that the city of Birmingham now wants to develop North Birmingham School. All of this is about within a 5-mile radius of these new developments. Keep in mind, we're in the midst of a pandemic. The mayor says we cannot afford to pay city employees and furlough them, close libraries, close park and recreation centers. But guess what? During the pandemic, this project is called the Caraway Redevelopment Project. Go to AL.com. Caraway Redevelopment Project received more than $13 million in incentives from the city of Birmingham. Of that $13.1 million, $4 million, a minimum of $4 million cash went to a private developer to develop this amphitheater in the midst of a pandemic. You all got anything you want to add? Because I think we're on a roll, folks. I mean, you know, this is really about informing folks. And we don't want you to be uninformed going into the polls. Because I'm telling you, folks, John told you earlier, if we do not take the destiny of this city back, I just believe natives of Birmingham are going to be on the outside looking in. So, Ms. Williams, you want to add anything? If you had to plead the case for public works employees as a former city employee, now retired, what would you say in terms of on their behalf, the workers who are currently now working themselves to life? I don't want to say to death, because this mayor is now trying to clean up in 60 days or less based on what he did not do for more than 3.5 years.
Get out and vote. We know she works. Mayor Scales.
What would you say on behalf of the employees in their defense?
It's time for a change.
Okay.
We need to do better. We got to do better. We need to have better.
Okay. 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 So my understanding, which is interesting, while we're here talking right now, I am seeing that that you all, some of you all, received a call from City Hall apologizing for a lack of city trash pickup. Isn't that interesting? But I've been talking about this now before, you know, that's why a lot of these folk, once they come online and so forth, I keep telling people about how the mayor and his staff, they are watching these podcasts, because the one thing that they cannot control is my voice. They can't control it. So what they're now trying to do, and I just got this note, there's a call out that has gone out to say we apologize, but that's because they're watching our ride-alongs, and every time we do a podcast, they're listening. And I'm saying, why listen? If you were connected to the community, you would be working. You would have already been doing some of the things that we're talking about, rather than trying to hurry up to do it. And that should be your clue. If they're doing it now, they could have already been doing it, folks. You're not talking about the previous mayor, who should be an elder statesman, okay? You're talking about someone who's only 40 years old, and you're playing the same games. The same thing he talked about, election services. We're only getting services in an election year. That's crazy. So I want you to know, viewers, when you get your neighborhood cleaned up, get that trash picked up, like, click, and share, and say, I thank LaShonda Scales, because had she not exposed it, this mayor has placed very little credibility on you voting. If you don't vote, you're actually playing into his strategy, because he wants it more of the same, because he's nothing more than just a person. He's a figurehead. But the people behind him,
Right.
they are capitalizing
Right.
off of Birmingham's
Right.
deficiencies.
Right.
You got it?
Right.
So, and I know you're smart. We just got to help connect the dots for you so that it's not a conversation between the four of us. It's now getting to you. Oh, this the strategy. Oh, okay, so they make it unlivable so that it's hard for us to get city services because, oh, developers are looking at this area. Oh, they plan to make money off my home.
Right.
Right?
That's right.
And I'm going to tell you something. Haven't you noticed how you're now getting calls about selling your home? You're a homeowner, and you're trying to figure out, how did you get my number? Where did you get my number from? And matter of fact, I was offended because I got like 4 or 5 calls one time within 1 week. And I wanted to know, why are you calling me and how did you get my number? Somebody is doing something, okay? Somebody's giving them access, and I have yet to find someone that hasn't received a call. Next to talking about your automobile insurance is about to expire, the next is getting a phone call to buy your property. Have you got one of those calls? Have you? Did you get one, John?
Yeah, all my whole neighborhood been getting them.
Your whole neighborhood. So listen, folks, like, click, and share that, because as I'm exposing this mayor and his masquerade that he wants you, that's one of the prayers that we pray before we come on, to take the scales. Let that be what my name represent for you. Taking the scales off of your eyes so you can see clearly, because if you're only surviving, you're playing into the strategy of people who want to make money in Birmingham, but they don't want to live here. They want to make money here, but they don't want to live here, and they want to control everything that goes on here.
Right.
So, in closing, Dexter, what you want to let the people know, because we got work to do.
I just want the people to know that don't be fooled
Yeah.
by someone who appears to be calm in demeanor and trying to sell a good message.
Yeah.
He's had 3.5 years to increase the prosperity of the employees. That was his big thing. That, we're going to put the police foundation to work and we're going to do some things. And when posed with that question on just last night, his response was, well, since you're trying to talk over me, I'll just be quiet. And my response was, that's what you're good at, being quiet when faced with a difficult question. Do the work. Now, it's really out of the hands of the people at City Hall and the puppet masters. The power is back in the people's hands. You should be registered to vote. You should vote your conviction and not on appearances.
Yeah.
Ask the candidate, specifically ask Ms. Scales. She and I have a long history back when I was an employee. And we hadn't always seen eye to eye.
That's right.
We've agreed to disagree.
That's right.
But have never taken it personally.
No.
It's a shame when an elected leader would take something personal when you're not doing your professional job.
Yeah.
In the public sector, we wouldn't take it personal. If an employee can do the work and they're doing the work, they're going to get a good evaluation. When they're not doing the good work, they're not going to get a good evaluation. They're not going to get a raise.
Yeah.
And in all likelihood, they're going to get terminated from employment. Citizens of Birmingham, you hold the key. Give this mayor the pink slip and let him find other employment somewhere else doing something else. But don't let him continue to run our city down to the ground.
And tell them who you are again and what you represent.
My name is Dexter Cunningham. I'm a 27-plus year honorable retiree of the Birmingham Police Department.
Wow.
I don't hold any personal grudges against anybody except people who come after my pension. Now, I'm getting my pension money. So the fight that I fought, that I talked to Representative Rogers about, it really wasn't about me because I'm getting my money. But it's not fair for my brothers and sisters in blue and red and green who are protecting and cleaning up the city. It's not right for them to pay off the city's debt because we had a mayor who, instead of paying what the city should be paying into the system, you want to reduce the benefits of the employees and still have them pay more money.
Yeah.
But you could charge a $90 million to get this stadium built, but you had a $300 million debt on a pension.
Right.
So which one is more, 300 million or 90? Well, 300 million is more. You could have took that 90 million, that would have paid that 300 million down a good little piece.
That's right.
But
That's
you
right.
chose not to do that, and then the audacity not to get one dime of tax revenue from something that you don't even own. Who does that? Who gives away $90 million and you may get some return from it if people come and stay, may get some return. If I invest $9, I'm expecting a return on my $9. Lord, forgive me if I had $90 million, I'm going to expect a defined return on it, not a speculative, hope they're nice to us return. No,
Wow.
that's not how you do business.
Wow. Well, you heard it from Dexter Cunningham, former FOP president, retiree of the Birmingham Police Department. Ms. Williams, she's here representing Public Works, who's been getting a bad rap, and yet they are working really hard for you under some extenuating circumstances because they don't have the proper equipment. They're doing the best that they can do. So what would you want the public to know about Public Works employees and why it's so important for us to support Public Works employees, all of our employees?
The Public Works is one of the hardest working departments at the city of Birmingham. And just get behind them and just be patient with them because they're doing the best they can with what they got.
Okay. John?
Two things.
Yes, sir.
First of all, your school. The mayor took $2 million, $3 million out of the school budget. And what happened to that money we passed to get the money for the band uniforms, and we had to get some used band uniforms for
Raise your property tax.
Raise your property tax for the
Yeah,
band. The
yeah.
school never got one instrument. Not got any band uniform. What happened
Yeah.
to that money?
Yeah.
So the other thing is that you about to have a tale of two cities. I'm telling you why. Because of the fact that all those hotels you see built downtown, down there too, that's land owned by the BJCC.
Yeah.
And then not only that, the killing part about it, what kills me so bad, is that he's been developed a whole corridor that you can't get. If you sell a bag of peanuts in that state, you can't get a tax off of it. So now how in Sam Hill, you gonna let a man make a tale of two cities where you living in the poverty part, in West End, Inland, North Birmingham part,
Yeah.
and they living in the high-rise apartments, big deals. We got to realize what's happening to us.
Yeah.
We are finna get, and now I'll tell you what, the Sheraton Hotel. Y'all think when they have these big things that we get all that tax money, but majority of that tax going to the BJCC. I know I'm talking about sitting on the board.
Yeah.
And I fought it when they had the board.
You a board member.
I'm a board member. And I fight every time I ain't have enough votes to fight and kill them. I'm
Yeah.
on the convention and build the board also. Try to bring people into the city. But they're going the other way from you.
And people don't know that the Sheraton is not a private hotel.
It's not a problem.
Sheraton, you paid for it.
You paid for it.
Just like you paid for the Westin Hotel if you didn't know.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. All the hotels being built
Yeah, yeah.
Where they gonna have folks going to go there
And don't get a discount either. And you paid for it.
You're not gonna get any of that money. You might get pennies or some kind of way, but you're not getting most of it going back to the BJCC. I showed their budget to you. I put it online and showed it to you. And the mayor sitting there like a little patsy with not enough votes to change. Whatever they want to do, he got to go along with it because he get outvoted. He didn't have a vote on the board until you pushed him to get a vote on the board. They finally gave one vote on the board, but he doesn't have enough to make any difference.
That's right.
So therefore, when they go on, these folks coming to town, going to these fine hotels, to these buildings, playing golf and doing all this stuff, that stuff belongs to the BJCC, who's already purchased the land. I know what I'm talking about. I'm sitting. They've already purchased that land already in eminent domain. All the land across from Carraway House in eminent domain already. That church in there is already empty. Drive down the street and see for yourself. It's already gone. And so therefore, I'm telling you that the only way we can change it, he has to go. I'm begging you, please, go to the polls and vote for Mayor Scales. This is my candidate, and I'm telling you, the only chance we got right now to save ourselves is to get a new mayor in office. If we don't save ourselves now, I can't tell you what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. We're going to be begging, we're going to have a tin cup down there on the way all the big rich white folks at, going to these big fine things. Will you give us a dime, please? I mean, that's what we have. You got homeless folks all down there. They're trying to put in a shelter. They're trying to find a place to do something with the homeless right now. Birmingham won't even think about doing that for them.
Yeah.
All they want to do is tell a food truck if you got any food left over, go down and give it to them. Now that's pathetic for a city. For a city mayor, for a city mayor who's already there to think about, not to even think about your city, is pathetic. So all I can do is just beg and cry and support this lady and beg her, please. I'm begging y'all from the bottom of my heart. If I could cry a tear right now, I'm crying one, you just can't see it. Please save this city. Please please save me. I live in the city too. Save us. Save yourself. If you're not, you'll regret it for the rest of your life.
Wow. So you're hearing it tonight firsthand. I wanted to make sure that you could talk to everyone yourself. I have been in my own car, not paid for by anyone. I'm talking about I got my own campaign car that I am paying for. I've invested a lot into this campaign because the one thing that I know is that as a candidate, you have to be very cautious who you take money from, because while Mr. Wooden's intentions to us may have started out being pure, it's those backroom deals that really we're talking about. And this is what we are exposing when we talk about the tale of two cities. I will close on this note. Kasim Reed is running for mayor of Atlanta. Kasim's mother, Sylvia, worked for my father years ago. And I want you to know that he made a remark about Birmingham that I'm going to keep in mind, and it was at his fundraiser that was at Tyrese House, which is an actor, okay, over there in Atlanta. Tyrese lives in Atlanta, singer too. And I never forget, he said, people only stop through Birmingham on their way to Atlanta. Is that what we want to be known for? A city that it is obvious when you go downtown, the exits don't go downtown anymore. They're going north and south of the city, right? You're going to either get off at 31st Street or you're going to get off by Municipal Court. But you're not dropping down into the city center. I want you to know the quality of life of this city is what's on the ballot. Think about you getting a call today about a lack of trash pickup. Well, you got to understand these employees are now walking off the job. A lot of them are going to the county where I am right now because they are tired of being underpaid and overworked. That's what your issue is. They are now working sometimes 10 to 12 hours a day to pick up what a garbage truck, a limb loader, other things should be picking up. You have officers who are getting trained and being paid by the city of Birmingham to get trained, and they're leaving before the training even ends because Birmingham is not competitive in our wages. We're not providing proper equipment. Our police officers are outmanned, outgunned, and no, you cannot police your way out. I'm not saying that the police department doesn't need reform, because it does. But the police department is not your issue. It's the way in which we govern ourselves is what needs to be reformed, right? But if you take an officer that's already outmanned, outgunned, riding around in a torn up vehicle, how you gonna catch the criminal? Or if you catch the criminal, the criminal is out before the shift ends. That's why a lot of them say, no, I tell you what, let me go to Vestavia Hills. Let me go to Mountain Brook. Let me go to Trussville and Lees and Clay Charville. Because guess what? I get paid more money and deal with less people with less problems, and they support us. And they support us. It's a lot that's going to be revealed between now and August 24th. People said to me, LaShonda Scales, you just don't know. You have really informed us about what's happening in this city. And I didn't just start within these last 30, 60, 90, 120 days. I started back in January. We started this podcast, I want to say somewhere around about March, and we started bringing people on, talking about things that were going on. And the question was asked, will these people go away? Well, Dexter will tell you he came because we still have a relationship. We didn't have to fall out with each other to have a difference of opinion, but those things we can agree on, we agree on them. He's an adult, I'm an adult. I have an opinion, he has an opinion. But we don't take it personal and attacking one another, right? So that's why I called him. So if you're asking him about relationships, that's all I know how to have, are relationships. You got to have a relationship that equals to a partnership with the Jefferson County delegation. You got to be willing to work with people. You can't make people just do what you want them to do. You got to sit down and say, hey, John, certain things are not happening. Let me just be honest with you. Here's our issue. I just want to let you know. But I'm going to be honest with you, John. When I looked at our librarians, our park and recreation centers that were closed, we're in the midst of COVID, you got something that's not even as thick as this, and like t-shirt material, and they're having to put it over their face, and many of them crafted their own. And the only time, I'll never forget this, Marlene, when COVID first started at its peak, that's the first thing I did. I got my church, which is Faith Chapel, so I love Faith Chapel and my pastor, right? And I asked them about purchasing masks so I can give them to employees, because you all were out weed eating and all this other stuff, and didn't even have on N95 masks. I then got with a African-American owned business. It was a woman, home business, and I asked her, can you help me to get these at $5 a piece, and then my church can be able to sponsor those. And I think we ended up buying like 1,000 of them. And here's the point. When I showed up to pass out the mask, because actually an employee said, I know you at the county, but Commissioner, do you mind helping us with some masks? We'll do some food, but can you help us with some masks? I did more than masks. And then all of a sudden the mayor shows up and want to start going and doing some Jimmy Nicks and whatever, trying to buy food, but you had PPE money from the federal government by way of through the Jefferson County Commission, and you wouldn't even draw down on it until you wanted to utilize or move money around from police and fire, take it out of the general fund budget, replace it with CARES Act money, and then $4.1 million you give to a private developer, cash money, during the pandemic to then develop an amphitheater. Folks, it's on you. We're giving you the facts. It's on you. These are facts you can look up for yourself. You have access to your cell phone. I want you to understand, use that phone to your best interest. Don't go by what I say. Don't go by what this mayor says. I'm telling you, so we're clear, this mayor does not have your best interest at heart. I've been looking at your comments. I'm trying to make sure that I pull you up even now. I'm telling you, I thank you for continuing on to tune in. Listen, he's your representative in House District 52, but has always cared about citizens of Birmingham. So when John gets attacked, oh, you haven't done nothing, oh, okay, those same folks, when he wanted to confront the mayor face to face, people tried to make sure they locked John out of a room, out of the building, as a matter of fact, at a radio station, because he said, I would challenge the mayor publicly with my statements. And they didn't want that. See, people want to hide away all of these lies because they want you to then move yourself out of Birmingham. That's the new gentrification. She's already told you about our public works employees, and pay is an issue if you have not received cost of living raise in how long?
4 years.
4 years, no cost of living, no merit increase, none of that, okay? Our Birmingham Police Department, Fire Department, they desperately need equipment on the road. Now, the mayor's going to do some few little things in these next 3 weeks, but listen to me. If he's doing it now, he could have been done it. So the mere fact that I'm having the forethought to expose it and to tell him how to do his job should let you know I'm qualified to be your mayor. I want you to look past the gender, because Birmingham has never elected a woman, and I want you to see the tender loving care that the agenda that I'm putting forth will give you as a citizen of Birmingham. I love you, folks. Keep tuning in. My ride-alongs, we going strong, folks, and we got some pop-ups that we're going to be giving some things away. We're not waiting on the federal government. We are being the change we want to see. Okay, Sundays with LaShonda Scales, showcasing and highlighting folks. But listen, call John. You got access to be able to call John. What's the number to your office, John?
205.
Look over there so that they hear you.
205-306-4275. Call me. You got the
Give the number again.
205-306-4275. Fight your tale of two cities. You gonna have tale of two cities if you won't sit back and wait. Tell them the good side, the rich side, and the poor side where we gonna be living.
Okay. So now listen, if you are a caregiver, we'll be working during election hours. You are a college student getting ready to go over to school now. You're getting ready to go away, but you registered to vote in Birmingham. Go ahead and vote right now. So caregiver, active military member, if you are working during election hours, here's your opportunity. You can go down to Birmingham City Hall right now, 3rd floor, conference room A. Get off on the 3rd floor, take a left. First room on the left, right? And if you're not registered to vote, come on now, August 9th, right? We're August 4th. August 9th is the last day to register to vote for this upcoming election. We got to win it outright, folks.
Right.
I want you to come out like never before. Right. And if I don't treat you right, even I won't come back and ask you for your vote. Take your disappointment and make it about action. Right. Take your disappointment and make it about action. This mayor has said that you are not smart enough, if you are black and brown, to go vote. Right. You're not even a part of the strategy other than you not voting, okay? Because there's a demographic that he's depending on, and there are three. One are people who live on the south side, the professional community on the south side and downtown, our brothers and sisters who are part of the LGBTQ community, and also young people. Prove them wrong, folks. Let them know that you will not be fooled and tricked. My mother used to say, if a person tricks you the first time, shame on them. They tricked you the second time, shame on you. Third time, they should have tricked you. Let's go back over that again. My mother would always say, she turned 76 yesterday. So happy birthday to my mother, okay? She said to me, if a person tricks you once, shame on who? Them. They trick you twice, then shame on you. If they trick you the third time, you should have been tricked. Don't fall for the tricks and politics. Study to know the truth for yourself. I love you. Keep tuning in on all of our ride-alongs. Contact your state representative for the Jefferson County delegation, and he also represents District Number 52. I thank him for his support, his endorsement. It means a lot. for John and I to be in this journey together, and also for our fire department, police department, public works department, all city departments. They need your prayers. But above all, they need you to get out to vote. They need you to get out to vote because they are suffering at the hands of a leader who does not care about people.
Right.
Putting people first is just a slogan. Just like "We deserve better" was just a slogan, folks. Don't fall for the tricks in politics. Talk to you soon.